Hello, everyone. This is Amy, the Mystic Rose Tarot. Um, I was going to post this video over the weekend. I had my cards all laid out and ready to share them with you. And being that this past weekend we had the full moon in Aquarius, just ruled by Uranus, and you know Uranus is about sudden shifts, unexpected changes. And that's what happened this weekend. I had promoted this to share on Saturday, and I had a wonderful surprise visit from a friend. And then that led to an adventure, and that ran into the weekend, going out of my area and exploring some adventure in nature. So I got completely pulled away from this, and I've been trying to get my wits back to my practice. So I accepted, I accept what happened this weekend. It was meant to happen. I probably needed to just get away from my practice for a while. And so the universe sent me some friends over, which was really nice. So trying to get back in my rhythm, what I'm doing here is, this weekend was also Lughnasadh and or Lammas, which is in Celtic tradition, the start of the harvest. It's the early beginnings of fall. And so at this time, we're losing light, as most of us are seeing, and we're getting more night. So this is the time that we are paying homage to the remaining hours of daylight that we have. And so at this time, it's a time of culling everything, harvesting everything. And it could be from food, it could be material things that we've finally completed, or just projects that we've been putting all our time in. And now is the time to give back. It is a time to share. It is a time to share with your what's the word I'm trying to think of? To share what you've nurtured and what you've harvested, what you've reaped. So this could be in the form of, like I was saying, food, crops, maybe some extra money that you've gotten, or some extra things that you don't really need, and you can pass it down to someone. This is a time of giving back, which is really important these days. We have to remember that we are universal and that we all have to work together, and keeping things, in a collective realm. It's very hard right now, but if you can do the best that you can, make those efforts, make those steps towards it. So what I thought, since we are now moving, we're probably about 6 weeks away into the autumnal equinox, also known as Mabon, I thought, let me do a tarot overview using the astrological signs, and also the wheel of the year, in relation to the aces in our tarot card and the court cards. Now, for some of you who've had a tarot practice for many years, and you've really delved yourself in it, you may be aware of what I'm talking about. In the tarot, and also through the Golden Dawn, which I've been working with the last few weeks, we will see a relationship, season-wise, astrologically wise, through our court cards, and also the aces. The aces, as we know, sets the time for us to start beginning, start creating, start being innovative, start, manifesting these projects, start focusing more on those. And of course, these are all based on the elements that we have in our aces. So with our court cards, of course, there's elements in the court cards. each of the court cards have their own significance when it comes to the season. There is a book that I received late last year, and I don't have the deck for it because the deck is out of print. And this book, when I got it, it was just perfect timing, because what it does is it combines the tarot from maybe from a pagan, Wiccan perspective with the Kabbalah. And I thought, I never heard of this book before. I heard of the deck, but I didn't know there was a series with it. And so the author of this book has passed away, I think probably 5 to maybe 8 years ago. I'm sorry, I can't remember the exact date. It's by Ellen Cannon Reed. She is a very respected priestess, high priestess, in the community. And she created a deck called the Witch's Tarot. This isn't the deck. And she had 2 books. And I believe the first book was more of an in-depth discussion of the Witch's Tarot. I'm not too certain because, like I said, this deck isn't around. If you go online and you do a search for the Witch's Tarot, you will see some very interesting imagery, and when you go through the book, interpretations of the tarot from a Kabbalah perspective. In this book, I'm not going to do a review of this book entirely. She goes through the major and minor arcana, but also does it from the Rider-Waite perspective, Golden Dawn perspective, her deck, which is tarot, and a general interpretation, and also the reverse of it. This book was just, when I opened it up, when I got home, after receiving it and just looking through the few pages, it's just like, this is perfect. So in this deck, she switches the interpretation of the swords and the wands. Okay, so typically we know the swords to deal with thought, concept, ideas. And the wands are action, willpower, so on and so forth. Those roles, those elements are now switched according to Ellen Cannon Reed for the Witch's Tarot. And for people who have been practicing the tarot for a while, there are decks where it is reversed. The swords plays the role of the wands, and the wands become the swords. So I'm trying to see the best way that I could explain this, because I do feel the interpretations between the wands and the swords, they can work either way. But seasonally, it's going to be a little different. So I think what I'll do is, as I'm going through this, I will just throw in a side note for that particular season, the element and the energy that is related to it. And then reverse it for the wands. So I'll just spend a little bit of extra time. I may miss one of the cards in the process, but I think that'll be fine. So what I'm suggesting, as I'm doing and creating these tutorials based around astrology and the decans and the planets and the signs within the tarot, if anyone who's watching this and they replay it, have a tarot deck with you. Now, a lot of the information that I'm getting, again, is going based on the Golden Dawn astrological correspondences. So there are a lot of modern decks right now that don't even approach that perspective. There are some modern decks that do, but find a deck, and I say this to a few people, that is Rider-Waite Smith inspired. Rider-Waite Smith is almost like a middle ground tarot deck to work with. And there's variations. There's the universal Waite tarot. There's so many varieties of it. But with the way that the minor arcana and the major arcana and the court cards are all broken down. And when I explain this astrologically, I think with a Rider-Waite-Smith inspired deck, you'll be able to follow it. If you have a contemporary deck where it has some sassiness to it and whatnot, what I'm saying to you may not even make any sense unless the creator of the deck does bring in elements of astrology, and then maybe you could piece it together. So what I want to do is we're going to start with the seasons. We're going to go through the aces. Then I'm going to go through page, knight, queen, king with their elements. But what we're going to do is, since we're already going into fall, I'm going to start with that season. Again, we're like 6 weeks away, but I want to give a breakdown of the seasons. So we're going to go in this order. We're going to do swords, which represents the season of autumn. Pentacles, which goes into our winter months, which is like the winter solstice. And then our wands, which moves us into spring. And then cups, which takes us into summer. So I'll end it with cups. And we'll go through the seasons like that. And again, I'll try to bear in mind the different interpretations between the swords and the wands. If you're using a deck that has those two elements switched. So before me, because there is quite a bit of information, so I want to keep it a little bit more concise. So, as I mentioned, swords moves us into the season of autumn. And our autumn season starts differently here because we're in the Northern Hemisphere. Northern Hemisphere, it's either September 20th, 21st, 22nd. It alternates every other year or every 2 years or so. And that runs from those dates, September 20th, 21st, 22nd, into December. And that's usually the 20th or the 21st. And that'll take us into winter. So let's focus now on the swords and their energy for the season. So throughout this video, I'm working exclusively with the Pagan Otherworlds because I think it's just a perfect deck to describe astrologically and symbolically how the images work in reference to the seasons and whatnot. So here we have the Ace of Swords. And as I mentioned, swords is for our autumn months. Now we have to think here differently because we have two different energies that's going on. Swords, like I said, involves the mind, involves reasoning, logic, putting that energy into what you need to really focus on. Okay. Ace of Wands is opposite. I don't want to deviate too much. When we get to the Ace of Wands, I'll explain the difference. But for the swords, and being in the season of autumn, like I said, this is a time of harvest. This is a time to really think about what we've put in to what we've been creating from the time of spring to summer to this time right now when it's time to collect and to give back to people. So autumn months, we start slowing down. We start reflecting a little bit more. So from fall to winter, which is actually my favorite time of the year, it is a time to really start looking back and see what's been done or what has not been done, what can be changed. This is, a time of thought. Also, we start putting things towards the end of the year. It's a time of starting to wind down. And that'll come later on in our other cards. So for our Ace of Swords, let's start preparing. Let's start looking at what's been done so far. We start slowly making these steps towards the end of the year. And I signify the end of the year being the winter months, for like the winter solstice. I'm going to do aces and then the courts. Ace of Pentacles. Okay, so this is our winter months. So it's December 20th, 21st, taking us all into the months of, March 20th, 21st, or 22nd, which will guide us into the spring. So with Ace of Pentacles taking us into the winter months, it is now time to, we shut down. We start saving. We start thinking. It's not really a time of action because the winter months is just that things are slowing down. It's a different kind of action that we're taking. And I feel with the Ace of Pentacles during the winter months, it is a time of just looking at what we have and maybe doing some work with it, maybe improvising on material aspects of what we've attained, our health. And this is also very important during the winter months. We have to make sure our immune system's really strong. So start thinking and planning, between autumn and winter, how to be strong. We don't know what winter's going to hold. So this is a time of just taking in what we have already, being grateful, of course, for what we have, and adding from that, and as I mentioned, maybe doing some repairs, doing some changes. Again, with the Ace of Pentacles, winter months, just really, it's a time, as I had mentioned, to really look at the things that we have. Slow down. There's not going to be a lot of movement going around at that time. So just, pace yourself, remain grounded and focused on what needs to be done. And this will take us right through the winter season into spring. So it'll be December 20th, 21st for winter solstice, the Ace of Pentacles, right into March 20th, 21st for the early starting of spring. So now from winter into spring, we have our Ace of Wands. And the season for the Ace of Wands rolls from March 20th, 21st, going into the early start of summer, which is June 20th, 21st. And this is a time, once we get all hunkered down from winter and we start seeing the more light coming in, we're starting to get that energy. We're starting to see the movement. And depending on what deck you have, we start seeing here with the Ace of Wands, my interpretation of this is even though these leaves look new, we still have new leaves that are coming in. These could be, from our winter months, letting go and moving and giving space for more energy. It's a time of, creation. We come out of our hibernation. So there's a lot of energy during the spring months. And that's understandable. It's still cold in some areas, but with that light coming out, sunlight makes a big difference for quite a few of us. So as more light comes in, we're getting more vitamin D in our body. That starts affecting our brain. We start getting that light, and that light gives us life to start moving and start being more creative and excited about new beginnings. So as I have mentioned in the Witch's Tarot, in the book, the wands also represents swords. So it's switched. So here we would take the energy, if you're working with a deck where the element is different, where this is actually ruled by air and not fire, this would be more of, as I mentioned, thought, reason, putting that energy into the spring months and using our will to really get things moving during the spring months. So this would be our Ace of Wands. If you want to read it as an air sign, just take in those attributes of using the mind and using that as a form of focus for getting things moving for you during the spring months. If not, then you would just use it as an element of fire for creation, for active, for thrusting forward. And also Wands rules the signs of Aries and Taurus and Gemini. So it covers these three elements. And the next card, our Ace of Cups, will fall into the astrological months of Cancer, Leo, and the earlier part of Virgo. So we've gone through spring, Ace of Cups. Ace of Cups now takes us into the summer months, a time of a lot of energy. Of course, energy is very important, but it's energy coming from the heart. It's a time where Ace of Cups, let me back up a little bit. Ace of Cups is June 20th, 21st, and takes us into our fall months of September 20th, 21st, or 22nd. So which we are right now. This is the card that we're in right now. We're winding down. So summer, lots of light, lots of energy, lots of action. And the action that we would see, physically, is now with the Ace of Cups, is more emotional, more intuitive, highly sensitive. The cups rule the water signs of Cancer, Scorpio, and Pisces. And it is a time of where it can be volatile, and you have to, and with the summer heat, we have to quell some of these aspects. Cancer months, Cancer in the summer can be challenging because we're all outdoors, we're interacting with people, so we're going to be more attuned to what's going on in our immediate environment. Leo, the month that we're in, even though it's not a fire sign, I'm going to just focus a little bit on the summer months that the Ace of Cups rules. The summer months, Leo and Virgo, deals with courage. They have a very kind heart, the Leos, and I'm not going to say they're sensitive. I mean, Leos are personified as being dramatic or whatnot, but they feel things so much from the heart. They're very expressive. They enjoy life. They live life to its fullest. They're very adventurous. And when they have something to say, because what they have to say comes from the heart, the way Leos speak, they have a way of just, I don't want to say mesmerized, but when they speak, we can listen, and it really, some very wonderful Leo speakers know how to speak and really get us to think and also feel. So that would be for Leo. And then Virgo, which falls more, with the Ace of Swords. But with Virgo, Virgos are analytical. They're practical at the same time. They're very careful. They think before they say anything or before they do anything. So there is some emotion involved, but Virgo is ruled by Mercury. Leo is ruled, and moved by the sun, and then Cancer is water. So to kind of confuse you a little bit, again, these are the summer months. And as I have mentioned, that cups rule Cancer, Scorpio, and Pisces. But since we're focusing on the seasons for this discussion, this is for the summer months. So emotionally, for Leo and for Cancer and for Virgo, there's going to be different aspects of these signs and how they approach things during the summer months. So Mercury with Virgo, emotionally, they're going to probably put more thought into what they do. And Virgo is also an earth sign. Leo is a fire sign. So right now, this is their time to shine. Summer is their month. And then Cancer, I would say Cancer, if things are a bit too overwhelming, go to a place that you connect with the most. Water. Go to the beach. Go to the lake. Surround yourself with the element that your sign is in. And you'll probably feel a nurturing, coddling feeling that will probably help take the ease off of any situation. It could be a little bit too overwhelming. So if you could do that, if you could put yourself in a body of water for Cancer signs, if the summer months are too much, I think that would be a wonderful idea. So this wraps up the season for our aces. So again, our Ace of Cups are ruling our summer months of Cancer, Leo, and Virgo. And Cancer is ruled by the moon. So again, as I mentioned, water energy, emotions, intuitiveness, highly sensitive, I feel, during the summer months. Leo, this is their season, summer, because it's ruled by the sun, and Leo is their sign that the sun takes in for their energy source. And then Virgo, earth sign, ruled by Mercury. They put thought in before they actually put action first. So they think first, they put, they weigh out the pros and cons. I know it sounds a little bit more Libra-like, but they really they're very careful of what they say before they move and take action. So that is our season of Cups, Ace of Cups. And then, of course, our Ace of Wands is spring. Spring, again, rules March, April, and May, the signs of Aries, Taurus, and Gemini. I did not mention that before, but there you have it. And Aries is ruled by Mars, Taurus, Venus, which is the earth sign. Mars is fire sign, and Gemini is an air sign, and ruled by Mercury. So we start seeing patterns. We start seeing seasonally how, since we're right now in Wands, how the spring months of March, April, and May affect us, and the energy that we put in to it. Mars and Aries, it's a movement sign. It's a sign of will. Once they put their mind to something, they're going to go ahead and do it. They're initiators. Taurus, when something's been initiated, and maybe it's being placed into their hands, into the sign of Taurus, is time to take that energy and build, form it, make something from it. And then we have Gemini. Gemini are the brains, if you will, of the concept that was started with Aries. Gemini is thought, communication, skills. They see the action that was taken, how it was formulated, how it was built, I should say. And then when Gemini comes in, they start rationalizing the whole concept. They start fine-tuning it, if you will, to put it into its next stage. So again, the Ace of Wands, it's initiating, getting things moving, again, based on the month and the planetary sign that's in and the astrological sign. Okay, and then we have our Ace of Swords, which is taking us back. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm doing this backwards. Our Ace of Pentacles, which takes us now for spring. Okay, we're going backwards. We're going from summer, spring, winter. I'm just retracing my steps. And this is the time where we are internalizing, looking at what's been done, what's already been manifested, how our health is. I'm emphasizing health because I feel come this winter it's going to be crucial. See where our health is, make it strong, work with what we have, make it better, improve if you can. Ace of Pentacles rules the months of December, January, and February. I didn't discuss this when I was going through this card. So it's the signs of Capricorn, Aquarius, and the early part of Pisces. So we have earth, air, and water during these winter months. And Capricorn is ruled by Pluto. I'm sorry, Saturn. Aquarius, I'm thinking back here because I'm thinking of a lot of information there. Aquarius is Uranus, adventurous spirit, as we know they are mind shifters when it comes to getting things done. They see things differently. Pisces, our water sign, is very deep. They really feel things at a very deep level. And it's the conscious and the subconscious, balancing between what's real and what isn't. And that's a hard sign with Pisces. When reality kicks in, they have to be prepared for it. And Pisces is ruled by the moon. So for Ace of Pentacles, it's a time of reflection, and all these signs, Capricorn, Aquarius, and Pisces, the moon, Uranus, and Saturn. Saturn deals with limitations and discipline. Uranus is getting out there and, changing the perspective of things, doing things outside of the realm. And then, of course, with Pisces, that's just more internalizing and living in their own world, if you will. But it's a world that once they come into the reality state, it can be just amazing with what they've been dreaming and thinking about. And once it gets manifested in the physical realm, it's pretty amazing. Some incredible talented artists that are Pisces that come out from that. Ace of Swords, okay, going into our fall months, into winter. Virgo, Libra, and Scorpio. And I forgot to say, let me see here. And I'm going to include Sagittarius with this. Sagittarius sort of falls with the early part of winter. So I neglected to say Sagittarius in relation to late fall. So with these signs, okay, we have different elements. Virgo, earth sign. Libra, air. Scorpio, with water. And Sagittarius, being the late part of winter, or late part of fall, early winter, is fire. So I should have put Sagittarius with this, but anyhow. Again, this is where we're talking about in the Witch's Tarot. We focus more on the energy, our drive, what motivates us, our will. In the Witch's Tarot, this is seen as a fire element, not an air element. So again, if you have a tarot deck where the elements are switched, the tools are switched, if swords are considered to be fire and movement, that's the interpretation you would use for the sword. So it's will, creativity, movement. With the majority of the decks that are out there, swords is considered to be air, thought, thinking with the mind, initiating. So with these signs of Virgo, and this works well for Virgo because it's ruled by Mercury, and then Libra, which is ruled by Venus, the sword influence for Libra is a little different because it has that Venus energy, and Venus deals with beauty and fine art and whatnot. So for Libra, it's more movement from the heart before using the thought. So they feel things, they see something that really moves them, and they take action, and then they see the results. They start thinking about the outcome of their actions. So this again for Libra, which is ruled by Venus. And then Scorpio, we have water. And Scorpio is a very intense sign. It's passionate. It also is ruled by Mars in relation to the Tower card, because it's that drive, something emotionally that really stimulates them and gets them to jump into things. So here, with the Ace of Swords ruling that season of the fall months, September, October, November, we have to, Scorpio moves more with emotions and not so much the thought. So this is a challenge for Scorpios because they move from a different realm. So it's a balance of creating the heart and the mind. It's the connection between the two. But if the will is put into it and there's the control, that's another aspect. Scorpio, if they can ease back on their energy and just take a moment to step outside and just see what's going on and think about what's going on and how you feel about it, analyze it, and then you could go back in and make better sense of it. So again, this is for our months in Sagittarius, going into the tail end of our fall into winter. Sagittarius is our fire sign. They're adventurers. They love to do things on a whim, but they're explorers. They're physically explorers, just like Aquarius are explorers, but they're explorers of the mind. They want to improve. They want to switch things. They want to change things. They want to improve things for the betterment of people overall. Sagittarius wants to better themselves, but through knowledge, through experience. They want to explore. They get influenced by what their environment is. They like changes of environment. They don't like being stagnant at all. They're a fire sign. It's movement. And Sagittarius is ruled by Jupiter. So that's the planet of luck and abundance. So that's something that really pertains to Sagittarius during this time. And I would also probably say for the Ace of Swords, our fall months, Sagittarius, Scorpio, and Virgo those months are probably, especially more so for Sagittarius, is a good time for travel. So I would take that into consideration more of Sagittarius than I would for Scorpio or Virgo. But I would feel like just maybe shifting your environment for a little bit to get a change of perspective will also enhance Virgo and Scorpio as well as Sagittarius. Okay, so that's our aces. Now we're going to go through the court cards. I need to plug in, excuse me one moment, I need to plug in my computer. There we go. Okay, so before we go into the court cards, I'm going to drink a little bit more water. So when doing an overview of the seasons like this, in relation to the aces and the court cards, and when you lay your cards out and you take notes, you start seeing the connection. Everything in the tarot is connected. It's connected numerically, it's connected through the arcanum being the major and the minor arcana. It's connected through the signs and the planets. That's why the tarot, I feel, is a never-ending source of information, spiritual information, intuitive information. There's so much to learn from it. And with so many decks out there, each of these decks that are being created are obviously attuned to each individual. So you can find a deck. Some people just work with one deck because it just makes sense for them. It works for them. There's no reason to get another deck, or they have that one deck out of all the decks that just works with them for certain readings. So anyhow, it's really important that when you practice the tarot, to look at all the different perspectives that are offered. Don't see it as major or minor arcana, because there's a lot more to it than that, obviously. So another thing too is people tend to cross their eyes when it comes to the court cards, because it's different. With our major arcana, we're focusing on a particular archetype and what it represents. Our minor arcana is a story. It's the experience that we've learned through the major arcana, those archetypes, and now applying that knowledge into our minor arcana. So, and that goes through the elements: wands, swords, cups, pentacles, and their energy: fire, air, water, I'm forgetting, and earth. But when it comes to the court cards are the personification of the major and minor arcana experience. Okay. The major arcana, we have our archetypes. Okay. And again, minor arcana is the experience that we go through with all these elements and all the tools. Now, when we get to the court cards, they're personified. They're personified into an entity, into a human form, into an animal, an element of nature. It takes all that experience and it humanizes it, gives it life, and it shows how that individual card, the court cards, how it uses the energy. Okay, so we've already gone through the seasons. So here we have the Page of Swords. Now this is the personification of during the season. Okay, as we're going into our fall months. Use that time if you feel it's best suited for you, or when you're doing a reading for yourself and this card comes up along with other sword cards or anything connected to this energy. It's a sign to probably work at this time and to use the energy of the mind or to be creative. If you want to interpret the sword card as a wand card, as a fire card. It's a time to really use the sign that we got from the Ace of Swords and put it into action. So pages are all about action, learning what you've attained and making those steps to grow and to learn more. So again, for the Page of Swords, use this time of the year to focus on that. Put more logic, put more reason, think, about what you're doing. Again, if you want to associate with the wands, take that sword, which is now a fire element, and put it into action, into creativity. Move it forward, invest it into the things that mean a lot for you and that you can learn from. Okay, so the winter months. Okay, as I mentioned, for our winter months, winter solstice, I mentioned this is stuff that we've already attained, that we've already worked. It's a time to, as I mentioned, to really put these things that you've worked for into action. Refine things, work on things. Or if it's something that is no longer of service for you, start moving and start thinking about what you want to do. Start creating. Okay, and this is during the winter solstice months. So that's from mid-December or December 20th, 21st, going into our spring months. So this is the time frame that you have to start moving, start manifesting the changes that you need material-wise. What do you really need? What needs to be improved? You, your house, knowledge, going to school, maybe a career change. Okay, so then we go into the Page of Wands. Okay, so now we're in spring. And I want to show you, can you remember here the wand here? We start to see some sprouting of leaves, but we also see some other leaves that are falling, which is sort of the letting go of the winter season, winter months. And here we're starting to see growth, okay? And this can also relate to the swords, as I mentioned, from the Witch's Tarot. This could also apply, if you're working with wands, the wands could be seen as an air element. So this could be showing the creation of what you're thinking about. It's starting to sprout. You're planting that seed, and you're making those steps towards what you want to create mentally and then also physically. So it is the time during the spring months, March, April, and May, like third week of March, into June, because that's our spring season. So from mid-March, March 19th to 20th, to June 20th, 21st, which leads us into summer, use that time, use those months to start putting things into fruition. And as I mentioned, we're getting more sunlight. We're starting to come out of our shell. We're going to start feeling warmth. We're going to start, depending on where you live, we're going to start shedding off our layers and feeling a little bit more open and more expressive and wanting to be more released of, our winter months, shedding the skin, if you will, and to start moving forward. I want to make sure I have my seasons in order. Okay. So that was our wands. Okay, so we went from our swords for fall, to pentacles for our wand season, for our winter season, and then our Page of Wands for our spring season, which can also, again, be swords. And I will show you both cards here again. Okay, so again, if you're working with a deck where the elements and the tools, their meanings are reversed, swords typically are air, and they rule the months of late September, which is Virgo, Virgo, Libra, Scorpio, and the early part of Sagittarius. And then we have our Page of Wands, which could represent swords, the air element, the mind, and this is for March, April, May, and into our early summer months in June. So this would be more Aries, Taurus, and Gemini. Okay, and then that leaves us with the Page of Cups. Okay, so we're at summer. In our summer months again, June 20th, 21st, into, this is where we are right now, our summer months, into fall, 20th, 21st of September. So right now we're starting to wind down. As I mentioned, we were Lammas this past weekend, bringing in the harvest. But here for the Page of Cups, we see the individual here standing on a foundation, but just, he's at the beach, but the ocean's right behind him. So since we are talking seasonally, not so much elementally, of what this card means, for our summer months, this is the person who is taking the Ace of Cups, is taking the sign of dealing with emotions, dealing with the vitality, and also putting thought into what they want to do over the summer months. Page of Cups represents June, July, August, and the earlier part of Virgo, which is in September. Again, Cancer, which is water, Leo, which is the sun, and then Virgo, the earth. And using those energies, this is the card, when you get it, you're doing something that you kind of want to get a time frame about, represents our summer months. It's a time to harness those signs, the planetary influence, and using it to our benefits, put it to work. This is a card that's saying that it is time to get this into action. Let's start working from our heart. Let's start feeling a little bit more. I missed stating something here with one of my notes. Pages, also known as princes, if you're using a DOF deck, or any other system that uses princesses, knaves. Pages are manifestation. So they're the ones that are, they already have everything. It's time to manifest. They're going to that next step. So, they're wanting to learn, they're wanting to move forward, they want experience based on the element of influence for that card. They want to manifest. Now, with our knights, this gets a little confusing here, so kind of bear with me. The pages, when looking at the Witch's Tarot, the pages represent the summer months because it's movement. But when you get into the elements, like how I broke it down, it does change based on the tool and the element that's representing that particular page. So just keep in mind that it is a form of movement, manifestation. This is a new beginning. You're experiencing the use of this tool. Again, with the aces, it's giving you that initiative. It's telling you to go and make things happen. Again, based on the element. So the knight is also movement as well. But what's interesting is with Ellen Cannon Reed's book, Witch's Tarot, from manifestation of the pages, the knights are now representing the summer months, or I'm going backwards here now. The knights are representing the summer months, which in a way sort of throws me off a little bit because her interpretation of the knights is formation, which makes sense, but seasonally it doesn't seem right to me. I would figure formation would probably be in one of our other seasons, which I'll explain in a moment. But in her book, she sees the knights. It is energy. It is manifesting, but she uses the word formation. It is forming. Manifesting and formation, they're almost one and the same, depending on the context of how you want to use it. So I just want to mention that on the side, that for her, she interprets knights and princes as formation, and it rules the summer months. So what I'm going to stick to, just to make it easier, I'm going to just stick to the elements. So as I mentioned, our swords, which can also be wands. Our swords are for fall. I kind of want to keep it like that. So since we're in this month right now, so this is the time for movement. Okay, but here it's not initiating, but it's a time to have the ideas, our thought processes, what we've been putting in. It is a time to put that into action. So during our fall months, into our winter solstice, this is the time that we really start telling people how we think about things, how to better communicate with people, making your ideas clear and going forward with it. And this would be during our fall months, what deck you're using. So I feel when we're in the season and that element, the signs that are ruled by those particular elements will have a, I would say, better advantage, but will probably feel more influenced to do things during that time of the year. It just makes sense for them. So for our Knight of Pentacles, okay, so we go into our winter months. This is also a challenge because with the Knight of Pentacles, the fear that could come from this during our winter months, and it's very natural, especially for earth signs being Taurus, Virgo, and Capricorn, is because it is a time of introspective and we're hunkering down and things are slowing down. We have to avoid being stagnant. We have to keep moving. We have to keep doing things that will keep us creative, keep us inspired, keep us moving. And again, with Pentacles, those three earth signs, their energy is all different. Taurus is a fixed sign. Capricorn is cardinal. And cardinal signs are the beginnings of each season. So Capricorn would represent our winter months. Our cardinal sign for fall is Libra. But I don't want to sidetrack because there's just so much to explain with these cards. I don't want people to start getting confused. But use the Knight of Pentacles as to keep being productive during our winter months. You have to keep moving. Knight of Wands, springtime. I mean, the difference, look at this. It's like we start seeing growth, we start seeing green. As our colors start going into our spring season, everything starts flourishing. And this card, I feel, is just the perfect representation for spring. It's movement. So for spring, we have Aries, Taurus, and Gemini. And again, Aries is fire, which is card Wands is connected with, or again, the swords. You know, if we want to use the wands as a representation of the mind and thinking, you can go ahead and do so if you're working with a deck of that, or if you associate the wands with just it being an air sign. But we have fire, we have energy, we have movement. It's time to go after everything from the winter months, everything that you've been thinking about, finalizing. It is time to now put it out there for people to see and for it to expand on. I'm going to move a little quicker here. Okay, and then we have our summer months, Knight of Cups. Putting these emotions, moving from the heart, but pacing yourself. When you look at this card, there's not really fast. There's not an indication of fast movement, as you see here. Horse is reared up, it's ready to go. The same here, Knight of Pentacles. And then here, our Knight of Swords. This card, we see ease, we see pace being taken. You know, being self-nurturing, I would feel, would be the Knight of Cups during the summer months. So this is the personification, as I mentioned, as we go through these court cards. Each card, the pages, the knights, queen and king, represent different energies of the elements and how they approach it. So when you get a Knight of Cups, and maybe you're getting other cups that are showing prominent in your reading, you know, it's a time to really take heed to that, and especially if it's falling in the summer months, it's really time to address various kinds of emotions and feelings and intuitiveness. And again, I always mention, if things are so overwhelming, especially if you're a water sign, try to get yourself to the energy of a water source, a lake. Swim. Go to the beach. The beach is just the best source of energy and rejuvenating that I've ever experienced, feeling a little calmer. So best source, water source for healing, go to the beach, go to the ocean, be by the ocean if you can. Alrighty. Seasonally, we are now going into our queen cards. Ellen Cannon Reed mentions that the queen cards will actually represent spring because they are concept. They are the creatrix. It's filled with fertility, nurturing, but this is a feminine energy, natural association with the queen card. Again, based on its element. So for our fall season, we are taking more of a maternal perspective. during these fall months. So the way we approach nurturing, self-care during our fall months, we take more of a sensitive approach to it. The Queen of Swords normally is a person. It's an energy. It's someone who just knows how to use the mind and or their energy. Again, if you're associating it with the wands. But with swords, the energy of the sword and who's holding it, they can use that tool for knowledge, for opening the minds of other people, insight. The flip side, they can use it for deception, for trickery, for mind control. So during our fall months, I'm going to stick to the Queen of Swords relating to the air element. Put a lot of thought. Try not to be so distant when you're stating how you feel about things. And again, during the season of the fall months, there's a lot of changes that are going on. It's a seasonal change. So it's also a time to just be wary of, think before you say something. Think before you take action. Listen to what you're going to say before you actually say it. Consider what you're going to do before you actually do it. Those are representing different forms of energy, but with the Queen of Swords, take more of a sensitive kind approach when doing your thoughts. Okay, now feminine energy doesn't necessarily have to always be kind or whatnot. It can be very stern. It can be very direct. These are our winter months. Queen of Pentacles. So this is very similar to what I was saying with our Ace of Pentacles and Page and Knight of Pentacles, but more so, it's a time to, again, take care of what we have. The Ace of Pentacles, I gave a general overview of it relating to good health, betterment of what we have, possibly releasing things that are no longer material-wise, letting go of that and investing into something that will benefit you. Ideally, the Queen of Pentacles nurtures what they have already. They're putting their care, they're putting their time into it. When you look at this card, you see elements of, we have the rose. Queen of Pentacles is can be ruled by Capricorn, which we see here by her headdress. Could be Capricorn or Taurus. But during our winter months, again, take stock of what's there and what needs to be done. Again, since this is a feminine influenced card, energy-wise, nurture what you have. This is a card of self-care. Now we go into spring. You see the energy here shifting. We're now moving into our spring months, March, April, May, early part of June. And this is a time to share what you've been working on, creating. It's a time of also influencing other people, inspiring other people with what you've done. Again, the Wands is creating, building towards something. Here, with the court cards, especially when we go to Queen and King, these are the this is the completion. This is what this individual has done to get to this point. And it is a card of positivity, of showing the potential that you can reach if you stick to it and you remain disciplined. But also it's a card of encouragement. The sunflower is one of growth and taking care of what you've been working on. And this shows here in the Queen of Wands. So this would be for our spring months of March, April, and May, for our spring equinox season. And then lastly, as we go into our summer months, our Queen of Cups. And summer months, Queen. It's also self-care, but it's different. It's emotional self-care. Self-care for yourself, self-care of others, being there to support. Summer months is a time of, being around family, friends. So it can be, depending on the situation, it can be a time of connecting further with family members. And if there's any issues, it's a time of emotionally communicating with them and the feelings that you may have experienced during this time. So Queen of Cups is our summer months of June, the start of the summer solstice, June 20th, 21st, going all the way to our fall months, our autumnal equinox, September 20th, 21st. So we have this time frame which we're in right now to really take care of what needs to be done emotionally. Summer months can be great because it's also that release and there's all that energy, but it can also be overwhelming, I feel, for water signs in particular, Cancer, Scorpio, Pisces. So, and right now we're going into the waning stage of our full moon. We're moving into Pisces, I believe, tomorrow. So it seems like during, I don't know, just people that I've met, the summer months, people who have water signs, it just seems to be a little bit overwhelming. Just take that time, take care of yourself, move away from situations that could actually stir that. We want to feel safe. And Cancers, they have the shell, and Scorpio, they express, and Pisces, they dream. So during the summer months, just kind of create that your own balance, and it'll fall into where it needs to. Alrighty, King. Now, with the Witch's Tarot, Ellen Cannon Reed, she says the kings are the creative force. Okay, we know creativity is normally assigned to Aries, the spring months, but she also states in her book that the kings represent the winter months. And also the queen, I think I have mentioned it, represents spring. They are the concept of that particular suit. So with our kings, okay, so we are with our King of Swords. Let me see. We see our butterfly. Our butterfly represents also a form of transformation. But here, I just want to mention what she stated, what the kings represent. For our King of Swords, sticking to our months of autumn from September, October, November, into our winter equinox. King of Swords is someone who has that experience. What's different with the Queen of Swords is it's the feminine aspect. It's a feminine perspective. It's that energy on how they approach using their mind or using the creativity. Again, the swords, if you want to see this as a fire sign, that it represents the skills that you've had and that you've created, the success and the knowledge that you've attained. The King of Swords for air is, I said it backwards, the King of Swords is the person who has attained the knowledge, has that experience, is the person that you would go to when it comes to something that's more of an aggressive nature. Not that the Queen of Swords cannot be aggressive, as I mentioned, but I feel with the King of Swords, which normally represents either Libra or Aquarius, they see a different perspective. They see a different approach when it comes to problem solving. They base on what they've experienced that there is a different way to approaching a situation that needs to be solved, problem solved. And they're very direct. They're very straightforward with their approach towards it. So that's the knowledge that you get. So during the King of Swords season of the fall equinox, you may be this very person. You know exactly how to approach situations, and you have that strength, and there's nothing holding you back. It's the strength of the mind. And the Queen of Swords is more of the nurturing. It sees a different, it's not an emotional side, because swords are not so much with feeling, it's more of thoughts. But there's a different perspective with the Queen of Swords, that it sees both sides as well as the King of Swords, and the way it's directed, the way the knowledge is sent forward. So again, this is for our fall months. Girly are holding on to their possessions and everything that they've worked very hard for. So the energy of both the King and Queen representing their material goods is still the same. But with the King of Pentacles, this is the action, this is the outcome of everything that they've worked towards. Pentacles is an earth sign, or is an earth element, and it works with Capricorn, Taurus, and Virgo. And these are signs of working. There's different perspectives based on the sign as to how they work. Capricorn's very disciplined. They go straight on. They work into things with all their conviction. Taurus, they take their time, but they put all their effort into what they're working on, and the results can be plentiful. In Virgo, they work, but they work using their mind, being perfectionists. They see both sides of things, and that's what keeps them stable. That's how they work. So with those attributes of those earth signs, you can achieve the success here. Just put all that work into it. The Queen of Pentacles nurtures what they have. They care for what. Okay, now we see the thing that's just slightly different here with our King of Wands. Again, Ellen Cannon Reed refers to kings as the creative force, which they are forces in their own right, and how they manifest and work with their tools and their elements. But here with the King of Wands, we see we see Leo. And King of Wands, for me, can represent either Aries or Leo. Again, depending on the placement of this card and its surrounding cards in the layout or in the reading. This could change the meaning overall, but for King of Wands, this is our spring season. And this is everything that this individual has done from summer, fall, winter, using all that energy in the proper manner to show creative success, to show that through will and determination, devotion, you're able to achieve what is needed. Here we see a person holding the reins of the lion, which we normally see as Leo. But this lion is more subdued. He is under control of this person. And that's something to keep in mind during the spring months. Once we hit spring, and you have everything that you've utilized to get to this point, it's time to maintain it and to stay in control of it. You don't want to let go of it. And then you lose it. So for our King of Wands, as I mentioned, we see Leo here, but it's primarily the season of Aries, Taurus, and Gemini during those spring months, and harnessing that energy during that time for complete success. And then lastly, we go into our summer months. King of Cups. If anyone who is watching this, I'll break this up. I'll timestamp this. I'd like to know anyone who is water signs or who are water signs, and during the summer months, Cancer, Scorpio, Pisces, do you feel the summer months are emotionally a bit more challenging than any other time of the year? I'm just curious. But with that being said, here we have the King of Cups representing our summer months. King of Cups is someone who is supposed to be in control of their emotions. Someone who understands they've gone through the rough waters, or naturally they understand. They have a good ear, they have a good heart. They know how to communicate and how to feel with individuals. The Queen of Cups is similar. Queen of Cups is someone who, maternally can feel things, very sensitive. It's natural instinct. King of Cups, I feel, is based more on the experience that they've gone through. And or naturally, if you want to use the masculine aspect of this, there are men who naturally, they just emotionally understand. This would make a very good paternal influence. Father or masculine energy, someone who just really knows what it feels to hurt, but also to show that you can come out of it. Come out of the shell. Release your emotions, but also be in control of them. Don't stay in the dream realm for so long. Come out, and see what's there. Explore. So for our King of Cups, this takes us from summer into where we are right now, our early start of fall. So this is a time frame right now. If we use the influence of the court cards of the Page of Cups, Knight, Queen, and King as guides, they can make this season emotionally. I almost feel like these are the archetypes for our season. Page, Knight, Queen, and King are the archetypes to represent the summer. And the same for our Page of Swords, Knight of Swords, Queen, and King of Swords. They're the archetypes to use during our fall to winter. And then, of course, Page, Knight, Queen, and King of Pentacles. Use those archetypes during our winter months, so on and so forth, to help us better understand how to work seasonally with these tools, with these elements within the signs of these seasons, astrological that. By using, I feel, working with the court cards and the aces, and of course the minor arcana, you can hone down, even down to the months, especially with the minor arcana, with the planets and the signs. You can hone down a time frame, within a few weeks, and see how that time is actually shaping, and what could be done. I don't think that works very well. Tarot is all intuitive. It's all it's spontaneous. It's at that moment when you do the reading, that's what's going on. And there are people who come, but again, you might as well just get your own tarot deck and just do your own reading at that point. So anyhow, here we did our breakdown. We did our aces seasonally, since we're moving into fall, so that we went from our swords all the way into our summer months, which represent the cups. And then we broke it down into our pages, elementally and seasonally. And again, the aces, based on their element, quite common movement, try to get things going, change things, shift things, beginnings. This is again all based seasonally for swords, wands, cups, and pentacles. I gave a few times the different references from the Witch's Tarot, that the swords could actually represent fire and physical movement, while the wands could actually be air, representing thought. So I applied some of those attributes into some of the readings. I didn't want to go into it because it's just going to confuse people further. So our pages, our court cards humanize the influence that we get from our aces. So it's taking that energy from the aces of initiating and starting, and it's humanizing it, putting it into a living form. It could be person, animal, anything that has a life source in it, and putting it into action based on the season. The knights, taking that energy. The pages are similar to the aces. They're starting to make the movement. The knights, again, wands, cups, and whatnot, they're already in the movement. They're already putting things into action, formation. What Ellen Cannon Reed was saying, which makes sense. Then our queen. Queen is the concept. It's what goes behind the elements, what the influence that's in it, and that goes seasonally. It tends to be more of a maternal influence with the queens, a little bit more sensitive, with the exception of the swords. The swords is pretty direct and pretty straightforward. And then our kings, especially with the queen and kings, these are our ultimate outcomes during the season. So if our queen of cups, wands, swords, or whatnot, these are our potential outcomes based on the suit. The king is the completion. Everything that you've worked on. It's mentioned as the creative force. I would drop creative. I would just say it's the ultimate force. It's everything that you've you've focused on, you've built on, you've thought on, put all that energy in, and it's the completion. It's the influence to showing what you can ultimately get to. So that's my interpretation of the aces and the court cards during our seasons. Again, I will break these up into, I will timestamp these, and you could go to them directly. If you have any questions about this, please contact me. This is a series of videos that I'm creating as I explore astrological correspondences through the Golden Dawn and the planets and the decans and the signs within the tarot. It's a lot, and I will probably say that with each and every video that I create. It is a lot of information. So that is it. All my information to contact me is in the description. I won't post any links because this is more specifically about the seasons, and there are different variations that are out there on the internet about seasonal readings with the tarot. I'm just going to leave it like I have here. You could pull notes as I timestamp these, and any other questions, as I mentioned, please contact me. My website's www.themysticrosetarot.com. Instagram, The Mystic Rose Tarot, of course, here on YouTube. Yes, please, any questions about any of the series that I've created? I'm still taking in information, so I apologize if I did switch some of the cards around, but I think I caught it in time. But explore this. Explore how you can learn about the timing when it comes to reading the tarot seasonally, and then our decans within the minor arcana. And I'm going to see about creating a layout of some sort. I don't know how I'm going to do this, but I may have to do 3 or 4 different kinds of systems. I don't want to call them layouts, but systems to interpret astrology, signs, and decans and planets within the tarot. I'll work on it. That's it. Have a wonderful week. I look forward to next time. There is something I'm waiting in the mail to come, and as soon as it comes, I will share it with you because it does apply to what I've been talking about the last 1 or 2 weeks about this. So once it comes, I will excitingly create some content for you so I can share with you. Have a wonderful week again.